So for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. And what clarification can we give Capricorn for this Magician card in reverse, please, for their relationship that they're thinking about? All right, the Eight of Swords. The Four of Pentacles. And the Knight of Swords. Some of you may be dealing with a Gemini. So we have really strong Gemini coming out here. Magician is Mercury, which is a ruling planet for Gemini. The Eight of Swords is decanically a Gemini card, and the Knight of Swords can represent Gemini as well. All right. So for those of you where that's meaningful. So let's take a look here. The Eight of Swords, the Four of Pentacles, and the Knight of Swords to clarify the Magician for their energy, their current energy in the relationship. What I'm getting here, Capricorn, is that I don't know that they are very easily able to focus. They may be getting pulled in way too many directions. They may not have the skills at this point in time, for whatever reason, to be able to juggle and balance all of the things that that they need to. So it's like what I'm getting is they may have so many things being thrown toward them or at them. That they almost kind of freeze up, you know, it almost kind of becomes overwhelming. So I'm getting like a freeze up type of energy from these, you know, it's become too much for them. And so they have all of this stuff and they don't know what to do with it. And by stuff, you know, apply the word stuff as it, you know, as it applies to your situation. But stuff could be obligations. It could be stuff that they've I use this word stuff to clarify stuff. It could be things that they carried into the relationship, like baggage that they've carried into the relationship, past things that they need to kind of work through. But they're feeling stuck. They're feeling stuck, and I'm getting overwhelmed, and so they're kind of locking up and freezing up, and they're probably not doing much, right? And I kind of got that earlier when we talked about this. This is like stagnant type of energy. So for those of you in separation, I'm not necessarily getting that, but it might apply to some of you. If this is a recently separated relationship, I don't know that they're in any kind of position right now to make any firm decisions about anything. They're like trying to keep their head above water is what I'm getting with this. And with this Knight of Swords energy that came out, so the cards kind of came out like this. Woohoo! And with this Knight of Swords, I'm getting that they're just like, they wake up in the morning and it's like mad dash for them. You know, it's like, I'm getting fire drill mode. There isn't necessarily a plan. Like, usually for me, I'm a bit of a planner, so I wake up in the morning, and before I wake up in the morning, before I go to bed that night, I usually have a plan of the things that I want or need to accomplish the next day. So when I wake up in the morning, I already kind of know what order I'm going to do things and the things that I need to do. When I have things I need to do, right? I don't do that every single day, but when I have things I need to get done, that's kind of the way that I approach it, and that works for me. What I'm getting from this Knight of Swords is that this person doesn't do that. They don't plan. Maybe they don't have time to plan. Maybe their brain isn't wired for planning. So that might be part of why they're stuck with utilizing resources that they have, because they're not good at planning. And so Capricorn, you should be really good at that. being a Capricorn, right? Depending on the rest of your chart, of course, we're being general here, but Capricorns in general are good at that type of thing. And this person may be challenged in that department. And if it's a Gemini, yup, that's like classic Gemini stuff. Too distracted, wanting to do 20 things at the same time, interested in 500 things, and like, which one do I choose? But that could apply to everyday life stuff too, right? So they may be feeling really overwhelmed. And so, like I was saying, when they wake up in the morning, it might just be like, all right, what's the thing that's most on fire, right? That's what I'm going to do first. And when I get that fire out, then I'm going to jump to the next thing. And then maybe I'll find time to have lunch, and maybe I won't get to eat till 8 o'clock at night. Like, it's that kind of just chaotic. Okay, what am I going to do? It's kind of that type of jumping around energy. Like, all right, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to, without having a plan, is the point. All right. It's a shit ton of stuff to do and not having a game plan on how I'm going to do it. All right. That is the energy that the person that you're thinking about is in. If this is a job, this is like a nightmare company. All right. This is like the nightmare company to work for, where they don't have processes written out. Everything is a fucking fire drill because they haven't taken the time to do, planning, like business continuity planning, or, disaster recovery type of, like, when something breaks, what do we do? They haven't taken the time to do that, right? So when stuff goes down, it's a damn madhouse because there aren't any plans in place. There aren't any processes in place to take care of that. All right. So this applies if this is a job for you as well. The thing you're thinking about, if it's not a romantic relationship. All right. Yeah. This is chaos. This is chaos that causes like inaction, because it's like, I don't even know what to do first. I don't even know what to do first. And when I do action something, it's a fire drill because I don't have a choice. It's like, when I'm forced to do something, I'll do it, but it's going to be quick and rushed and fire drill mode because I haven't thought through and planned out how I want to do this. All right. I hope that makes sense. Let's see, where are we at? We're at 27 minutes. All right, I think we have a feel for kind of where they're at. I'm not going to get any more clarification there because this desire in reverse falls into exactly what we just talked about. So I don't think we need to get more on that. I do want to look at one more thing, Capricorn. And I was really interested when I pulled these initial base cards for your reading, because remember the relationship came up as love. And I thought, oh, yay, finally, like a super happy reading. I haven't had one yet. And I'm like, oh, that would be so cool. And then I got the Ace of Cups for the obstacle, and I was like, huh? What is that about? All right, well, we got clarification on this Ace of Cups. So we spent a good, probably a good 7 minutes talking about that. So now I really want to look at this. The overall energy of this relationship, which came out as love, or the Lover's card, which, dang it, that's Gemini too. Holy crap, Capricorn. Maybe you are dealing with a Gemini. I missed that when we were talking about the Gemini stuff. The Lover's card is Gemini. It's the major arcana version of Gemini. All right. So for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. And please get clarification on this love card for the general energy of the relationship. The High Priestess, the Five of Swords, interesting, ooh, and the Six of Pentacles. Wow. Capricorn, I really think that one of you is battling some inner demons. Sorry that took a second. I think one of you is battling some inner demons. And I don't know how aware you are, Capricorn. I don't know how much, I'll show you the cards in a second, but I don't know how much they've told you or talked to you about this. I think they're doing the best that they can to kind of keep things as balanced as possible. But I'm really kind of getting right now from this, there might be a little bit of like bipolar. You know, it's kind of that kind of thing where somebody might be struggling with that. It may be something that they're a little bit, you know, maybe ashamed of, and so maybe they don't really talk about it much. Maybe Capricorn, you might get some indications of that, but they maybe don't necessarily talk to you about it. If you do know about it, right? If you do know they're struggling, maybe they're on antidepressants like that. It's something like that. They're trying to find a way to balance, and so this came out for the relationship to clarify the love card. If this is the underlying energy of the relationship, then there are definitely some things to get worked out and worked through to make this relationship a success long term, which now it makes sense, right? So we talked quite a bit about going from the 1 to the 10 and all the different steps that we need to do over the years to kind of get to this place. Now I'm kind of understanding what this is about. And this is, the Lover's card is very much about finding integration, bringing two people or two pieces together and integrating them. It's another variation of a balance card, right? The Lover's card is a variation of that, you know, but more from an integration standpoint. And so this may be why this came up the way that it did to represent the relationship, because if you guys are trying to figure out how to integrate all of the responsibilities that we've talked about that are coming out here, plus one of you is dealing with depression or bipolar or something like that, sometimes love isn't enough, right? And I hate to say that because we're love, like the love, when we say love, when I say love, I'm not talking about universal love, the stuff that I believe that kind of connects all of us. That's not the kind of love that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the way that most of us define like relationship love. When we really, really care deeply about somebody, so love that way, sometimes that's not enough to help us to figure out how to get from the 1 to the 10. Especially if somebody is struggling, right? Especially if one of them, and bipolar could be very serious, depression can be very serious. So while there's clearly, you clearly care about each other, and I am getting that this is really more a current relationship, right? You guys are really doing the best that you can to keep this thing afloat, this thing being the relationship. And again, apply this if it's a work relationship, because we talked about how that could apply a little bit ago. But there's some stuff going on here in the background that is causing a challenge to your love, right? To the integration. Can you get a little bit more clarification or validation, please, for Capricorn tied to this overall relationship energy, please? The Page of Swords and the Six of Swords. Yeah, something's going on, Capricorn. I'm guessing it's the person that you're thinking about. If it's not a person, it's the job, kind of nightmare job scenario that we talked about, but this applies as well. The swords are all about our mental energy, the way that we communicate, it's up here. And more Mercury too, right? So there's such strong Mercury coming through in this reading through Gemini and through the swords. I think the person, whichever one of you it is, I'm assuming it's the person you're thinking about, Capricorn, that's kind of struggling in this mental space. I think that they really are trying to get through it and get past it. They probably need to communicate about it more, though, is what I'm getting here. They may not be communicating about it as much as they should or could. I would encourage, if they're not in therapy, I would encourage that to help them, to help them kind of get past this a little bit more with the Six of Swords, to kind of help them push through and push past. But I think some honest communication and maybe getting some honest feedback from like a therapist or something might really be helpful for them, because over time it might flip them out of this energy, right? So this would be beautiful. This would be awesome if they could get here, right? Because then there's hope, and there's, I can think straight, which means I can prioritize, which means I can get shit done in a methodical way that makes sense, and I'm not just running around like a chicken with its head cut off all day type of deal, So, for those of you where that makes sense, take that and apply it or think about it if you like. This is a really interesting reading, Capricorn. All right, I'm going to get you some a couple parting messages from the Animal Spirit Oracle for this relationship. So for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus, what parting messages can we give to Capricorn for this relationship? Canary Spirit, sing your own song. So Capricorn, that ties back to what we talked about here with this Nine of Wands and this Queen of Pentacles energy, all right? So while I think this is largely going to be for people like in a relationship or in having some kind of job that they're involved with, self-expression is really, I think, going to become one of the keys to making this successful and achieving this love that is apparently there. But you guys may be having a hard time accessing it because one of you seems to be struggling, and that may need to get taken care of. And one of the ways, I think that the suggestion here is one of the ways that to help that person and to help you too, Capricorns, this applies to you too, to help them kind of turn these cards upright is, to do some self-expression, do some artwork, go spend a half a day at the spa, go for a walk, things, whatever it is that makes you feel better. If you haven't had time to read in a while, take a weekend day and make a cup of tea and drink the tea and read a book, do that. Don't clean the house. Don't do whatever. Just say, I need this time for myself. Okay? And again, communication, right? So there's definitely a communication thing here. Some better communicating possibly needs to happen here too. Okay, we'll get you one more, which is Koi Fish Spirit. There is always enough. Yeah. I think that, I don't know if this applies to you too, Capricorn, but at least one of you is, I think, living in a state of lack, right? So mentally living in a place of, I don't have enough. We talked about that with these cards. I don't have enough. I don't know what to do with what I have. And so for me, it's just like a bust, right? So I might as well just not even have enough because it's so much that I don't even know what to do with it, right? And so things just sit. and they don't get utilized, and things don't get done properly. If they get done, they probably don't get done very well. There's always enough. This may be referring to the resources at your disposal, Capricorn, and the person that you're thinking about. You know, if therapy would be good, there are resources available to you. If you guys really want to go on a vacation but you can't afford it, you can find a way. You can find a way. It doesn't have to be an expensive hotel. It doesn't have to be Hawaii. It could be driving 2 hours and spending the day at a lake, right? There's always a way. There's always enough. So you can find a way. A picnic, a day at the botanical gardens with your family, a picnic blanket and some sandwiches, right? Like that kind of thing. There's always a way. So this says it's always enough, but I keep getting like there's always a way, right? Clearly, you guys care about each other. Clearly, you know, there's a level of commitment here. So now it's, how do we fix the things that aren't working well? And I think that's where the communication ties in. And, you know, and possibly for those of you where it applies, maybe some therapy if somebody's not, could, you know, potentially benefit. So maybe talking about that, there might be some benefit to therapy for some of you here, okay?